I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a dancer.
I am a filmmaker.
I am a photographer.
I am a chef.
I am an artist.
I'm a singer.
I am an athlete.
I am a director.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Center Stage. I'm your host, Michelle Purpura. Today we have a very special guest who is the president of OWTV, but who is also a writer. Welcome Taja to the show.
Hey.
Hi Taja.
How you doing?
Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks.
So please tell me about your talent as a writer.
So I just recently discovered that I have this amazing talent for writing. Currently I have like 40 short stories that I've been working on over the past couple of months.
40?
Yeah, 40.
Wow.
Like I go out in the day and I see certain things and I always keep a notepad and pen with me. And I'm just constantly writing down story ideas. And then later on when I have time, I take them and I look at them and see what I can develop, what kind of characters I can create, and what kind of stories I can give them.
So you're saying throughout the day you just write. So what specifically inspires you throughout the day, or is it just anything?
You know what it is? I just think the fact that I can take something, like say for example, I created a character out of you. I can take that character and I can make it whatever I want it to be.
So I wouldn't have to be short.
Right, I can make you 6 feet tall and I can make you a serial killer, for example, even though you're opposite of both.
So would you say you write in the more of the style of imaginatively, or is it more, like is it creative, or what's the genre you write in?
Most of my short stories are just creative pieces. They're totally made up stories. Some of my fantasies, kind of writing those down, making them come to life. I'm also working on a book, which is actually, most of the stories are based on my own real life. Some of the characters' names have been changed, obviously, for legal purposes.
Okay.
But yeah, I do try to write about myself as well as other fantasies or fictional characters that I create or certain dreams that I have.
So when was the moment that you realized you had this passion? Because I did not, and I know you, and I did not know this about you. Did you keep it secret and hidden for a while?
Pretty much. I used to write a lot when I was younger, then my mother passed away. I think the last thing I actually really wrote was a poem for her when I was 14 or 15, and I really haven't wrote anything of value ever since. And then recently I just started writing again. I think mostly it comes from me, I'm about to graduate college.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just think I'm getting to that point where it's like, I don't really know what I want to do, but let me try to do as many things as I can to see what I'm best at.
I think with a craft, it's sometimes hard, you know, as much as writing, they don't really put it under the category as creativity, but I really think it is. It is being creative, and sometimes when you're creative, you get stuck. So I think my advice is that even if those hard moments, you should keep going, because you have a talent, and you should keep going with that talent. But, you know, I'm so happy you're writing again. So is there a piece you're working on right now?
There is a piece, I'm actually hoping, it started off as me wanting to do a short story. It's called, right now it's just a working title, it's called Cabin of Demise.
Wow.
I doubt that stays the title, it was just something to put on. But anyways, I want to eventually turn it into a book. I'm starting now by writing it as a short story, and I'm just trying to develop the main character and the protagonist, and he has victims, he's a serial killer, but he only kills a certain type of women.
So everyone, let's get right to it. Let's hear one of Taja's short stories.
And the piece I'm about to read is an excerpt from my soon-to-be novel called Cabin of Demise. Chelsea, baby, what are you doing here? Victor took a step towards her. He was able to keep his secret from his wife for months, but now she might expose everything he was. He had to get her out of this house. The house was pitch black except for the light of the moon shining through the front door. All the windows were covered with blackout curtains to ensure no one could see inside. He began walking towards her, the sound of his footsteps echoing throughout the barely furnished house. She stood frozen in the doorway, one hand still on the door handle. Her bangs were messy across her forehead. He raised his hand to swipe them behind her ear. She put her hand on his chest and pushed him away. What the hell, Victor? Is this where you've been coming all these nights? She feared that he was having an affair behind her back, but now she didn't know what to think. Whose house is this? Who else is up here with you? Chelsea, Let's just go outside and talk. Since it was dark, she couldn't see the beads of sweat forming above his brow line. He had to stay cool. He was losing his control and needed to put an end to this. No, let's talk right here. Hello? She began yelling into the house. She walked along the wall looking for a light switch. If there's anyone else in here, you can come out now. Chelsea, stop. He grabbed her arm and pulled her towards the door. Get off of me. What are you hiding, bastard? She began hitting him with her free hand. He dragged her out on the porch and closed the door behind him. He let her go, and she stumbled a couple feet before grabbing hold of the banister. Breathing heavy, she asked again, Victor, just tell me, what the hell is going on? He stayed silent. His face was tense. His teeth were clenched, and sweat began dripping down his face. He raised his arm to wipe his forehead with the back of his sleeve. He let out a deep breath and shook his head back and forth. He realized he had to handle the situation a little better if he was going to get her out of here. His face broke into a smile, and he chuckled. Listen, baby, everything is fine. This house belongs to a coworker who is out of town for the week. He just asked me to check in on it from time to time. He wrapped one arm around her waist and used the other hand to gently lift her chin so he could see into her eyes. He kissed her lips, but she didn't kiss him back. Let's just go home. Where did you park? Don't expect for me to be home when you get there. She pulled away from him and walked to her car. She got in and locked the doors before he got there. He tried the door handle with no luck. He began banging on the window. Chelsea, just wait a minute. She looked at him through the window with tears streaming down her face. He looked into her eyes and stepped away from the car. She started the car and pulled off. Damn it, he yelled. He made sure he couldn't see the taillights of her car before he went back in. He closed and locked the door, making sure no one could get in. He leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor. He began crying. He thought he was doing the right thing, felt as though he was doing the right thing. Now his marriage was in jeopardy. His wife might leave him and take the kids. He had to end this. He didn't want to go to prison either. She knew where the house was. He had to clean up any evidence that would allude to what was going on. Chelsea stopped on the road about a mile away. She couldn't stop crying. Something wasn't right. She no longer thought that Victor was having an affair, but there was something else, and it was probably much worse. She decided to go back. She turned around and headed back for the house. She didn't know what she was looking for, but she had to find something. She parked a couple hundred yards away so he didn't see her car, and walked the rest of the distance to the house. His car was still there. Just then, he opened the door and popped the trunk. She hid behind a thick of bushes so he didn't see her. He grabbed a duffel bag, closed the trunk, and headed back inside. Before he closed the door, he took a look around to ensure he was alone. He closed the door. She waited a few moments before she ran up to the house. She ran around to the back and stood on her tippy toes to look through the windows. She didn't realize he had curtains on all of them and couldn't see through. Just then, she heard a faint knocking. She looked around behind her into the trees. Hello, she whispered. Is anyone there? The knocking then became louder and frantic. She looked down at the basement windows, and there she saw it, his secrets, the truth, and the reason her husband felt the need to lie to her. She knelt down to get a better look, brushing some of the leaves away from the window. She could barely make out the figure of a woman. Her mouth was covered and her hands were tied. In the moonlight on the other side of the room, she could see another girl. Her lifeless body lay twisted in the moonlight. I'm going to get some help, Chelsea mouthed to the woman. Since he couldn't burn the house down for fear of drawing too much attention, he would just have to take care of the woman and get rid of the bodies. He had to get back to a normal life. He was not in a position where he could continue doing this, at least not for now, not with his wife checking his every move. He walked downstairs to the basement. He pulled out the keys and unlocked the door. Once he got closer to the second door, he heard a frantic banging. He rushed to the back and flipped on the light. He saw one of his victims looking out the window. She turned around and he quickly grabbed her hair and slammed her against the wall. Didn't I tell you to stay in your corner? Breathing heavy, he looked up into the window and saw his wife staring back at him before she took off running.
Taja, that was amazing. I really did not know of this talent, and I'm so happy you shared one of your stories with us.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward of hearing what's going to happen. As I was listening, I was visualizing a movie. Did you get some of this talent from, making some movies and seeing a story behind it? How has video influenced you in your writing?
Interesting you ask. I actually am a media major at the school here, so I work a lot with film and editing and whatnot. And when I'm writing these stories, I do picture it as though it was a movie, because I feel like if I become a good writer and I can write a good story, then maybe I can then turn that into a movie or a screenplay or, you know, whatever the case may be. So this is actually helping me with my major and with my career goals.
Right. As I was listening, I really could see the scenes being played and the characters, and I think that's one of your strong suits going into this field. So where do you see yourself after college? Do you see yourself as a writer?
I will continue writing probably for the rest of my life. I put it down for a long time, and now that I've picked it back up, I doubt I ever let it go again.
Good, because the world needs to know this talent of yours.
Yeah. I do hope to publish a couple of novels, a few short stories, maybe an anthology or whatnot, sometime in the future. But as far as graduating college, I do not know what my path leads to or where I'm going to go.
And that's okay. But where can we find you? Is there any social media we could find you, or your email address?
Well, as far as my work goes, I haven't really published or anything because there's still work in progress. I don't want to just put it out there for free. But as far as Facebook, anybody can go on Facebook and find me. My Facebook is Taja Young. My email address is Taja, Tajaj, Young, Young, @gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
Yeah, please reach out to Taja. Thank you so much, Taja,
Thank
for
you for
being
having
on
me.
our show.
I enjoyed it.
So if you have a talent, please come to center stage. Thank you again, Taja, for being on our show. This is Michelle Purpura from OWTV. Do you have a talent?
Then come to center stage.
Contact Michelle Purpura at mirose16@aol.com or
Contact me at Zach Lewis Feldman, that's ZACH Lewis Feldman @gmail.com.
and you could be on our show.